Hello, hello, hello. My name is Sylvia, and today I have a huge book haul, or well, a big book haul for you. And I'll be talking about the books that I bought throughout July and August. July and August. So I have like I said, a big book haul. So I will start right away with talking about the book. So, the books that I bought like in different occasions. So I will be talking about them like, I guess, in little chunks, if that makes sense. So, starting with the first books I bought in July, which are very special to me. These are the Spy. I just hit myself. These are the Spy Family volumes 1, 2, and 3. So, if you've never heard of Spy Family, it's obviously a manga series, but it's also an anime. I think it was turned into an anime, like adapted into an anime last year, or maybe it's been longer than that. I've been wanting to read it / watch it for so long, but I haven't. And then I told myself I would read the mangas first. And honestly, like, I wasn't really planning on buying them. Like, I knew I wanted to eventually, but it wasn't something that like I was actively thinking about. But then I was in Tokyo in July. Well, I was in Japan, and I went to Sunshine City, which is a mall in Tokyo, and within the mall there was this bookstore, and they had a whole section dedicated to mangas, and there was a little note in that section that basically said, to commemorate your trip to Tokyo, why don't you get like your favorite manga volume in English. So yeah, there was this little section in English. I don't know if I said that. My memory. But yeah, so I found the 3 volumes. I found the 3 volumes, all in English, obviously, and so I decided to get them. And yeah, so Spy Family follows this family, which is kind of like very quickly put together as a result of this guy who's a spy, and he's like the best spy in the country, or like one of the best. And so he's given a mission to basically stop this man, a man in power. I don't know exactly who he is, but he's tasked to stop this man from like starting a war between 2 bordering countries, one being, you know, their country. And so in order to do that, though, he needs to have a child, and he needs to have that child enrolled in the same school as this man's son, because the man who could potentially start a war, he is a recluse, and he only leaves the house to basically go to, like, I guess, his social gatherings in this school. I don't know, it's a bit weird, but yeah, he goes to the school's gatherings and stuff like that. And so he needs to, again, have a child enrolled in that school so that he can also go there and, I guess, like, befriend him or something, and like find ways to prevent the war. So in order to do that, he goes to an orphanage and he adopts a child who, unbeknownst to him, is a telepath. Her name is Anya. She's so cute. Let me show you Anya in color. So that's Anya. And yeah, so he adopts her, and then because she's a telepath, like, right away she's like super interested in, you know, having him as a father because she knows he's a spy. He doesn't know that she knows, so he tries to like act normal. Meanwhile, she can read his thoughts, so like she knows exactly what's going on. And side note, she's a telepath because she was involved in this like human experiment. But then I think like I guess it stopped being funded by the government or something, and like they had to like shut down or something. And so she ended up in this orphanage. And like we know pretty early on, because I don't know, I don't think I mentioned it, but I have read volume 1 so far. And basically, she has been adopted several times, but then she was always sent back. So she's really determined to not be sent back this time, especially because she loves spies. Her favorite show on TV is about a spy. So when she finds out that her potential father is a spy, she's like, that's so cool. I want to be his daughter. So basically, he enrolls her in the school. She goes to take the test to see if she can, you know, be enrolled in the school, which the school is like super elite. It's like the best school in the country, and so it's very like coveted by everyone, like everyone. Not just like the most powerful people in the country, but like even the commoners will try to have their son or their daughter, like their child, be enrolled. Oh my god, that was loud. But yeah, so he gets her to take the test, and she actually passes the first part of the test, and then the school demands to have like a full family interview, because again they're very elitist, and like they want, like they basically only allow the best of the best, and part of that requirement is that the child comes from like a stable traditional family. So like they want both parents to be present for the interview, and in general like it needs to be like her first marriage in theory, because like if you've been divorced it's seen negatively, and if you're a single parent it's seen negatively. So yeah. Which leads us to the mother, which basically she also has her own set of circumstances, and like she's a very naive woman in a lot of ways, very kind of isolated. Like the only time she socializes is with her co-workers, and I think she's like some sort of maid or something. I'm not exactly certain to be honest, but she is actually secretly an assassin as well. And so she's got her secrets, he's got his secrets, and they meet coincidentally at a, where did they meet? Whatever, doesn't matter. They meet up and they strike up a conversation, and then basically she needs his help for him, like she needs him to pretend to be her boyfriend, and then eventually that leads to him asking her to pretend to be his wife, because they need to go to that school for Anya, and so they end up just creating this like makeshift family. I think they technically do get married, but like actually I'm not sure, because he's a spy, so like he can get like fake paperwork and stuff like that. So like he manages to get like this fake paperwork that says that like they've been married a year or something, and he creates this whole story of like his first wife passed away, and yeah. Anyway, he was never married, by the way. But yeah, so this is Spy Family, and I think there's 11 volumes in total. 11 volumes. But yeah, I will probably just like get them like one at a time or something. But yeah. so far, like, I still have to read the other 2 volumes. So, yeah. But I really enjoyed the first one. It was a very quick read and very entertaining. Like, I laughed out loud several times, and it's just so cute. Like, Anya is so cute. She's so precious. You just wanna like protect her. But yeah, Spy Family. That was so loud. I'm sorry. Okay. Next, I got a book from. I ordered it online from Blackwell's, and I technically ordered three books from Blackwell's, but only one showed up so far. So this is Delphi by Claire Ballard. And I've already read this book, as you can probably tell by the sticky notes. But basically, I ordered this along with Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I actually bought the signed edition, but it never got here. I think it was lost or something, which is really sad. But I also bought a pre-order in that same order, which is Rouge by Mona Awad, and I love Mona Awad. Bunny by her is one of my all-time favorite books. Also, All's Well, which was it's her most recent published book. That was like I also really loved, and so I'm really looking forward to Rouge, which I think will be published in September of this year, or that's when I'm gonna get it. So I don't know. But yeah. Anyway, so far I only have gotten Delphi from that order, and I think she's a British author, Claire Ballard. She's British, and Delphi is actually set in COVID times, so probably like between 2019 and 2021, I guess. I hate myself again. But yeah. So Delphi is about this woman who, like, she has a lot of knowledge of like Greek mythology and like Greek mythology. Sorry. I read this like not that long ago, but like I feel like it's so hard to explain what the story is about because it's one of those books that doesn't really follow a plot. It's more about, I guess it's like a character study, but it's really just about this woman who's just thinking about her life, thinking about her son, about her marriage, and she's in a failing marriage, and she's so preoccupied and like worried all the time because of COVID, and especially for her son, because he's at home, she's like worried about him spending too much time in front of a screen, constantly playing games, like video games, or even just like not socializing, stuff like that. But then all of it is like each chapter is based on some type of, what's the word? Wow, what's the word I'm looking for? Prophecy. There we go. I couldn't think of the word. So this woman is obsessed with prophecies, specifically Greek prophecies, and so each chapter, like the title of each chapter is like a type of prophecy. So for example, we have post-diction, prophecy written after the fact, or we have videomancy, prophecy by electronic visual medium. And so each chapter with its little title, each title, again, like I said, it's a type of prophecy. So each chapter is kind of like, I don't know, it's like about her daily life and her thoughts, but also like the type of prophecy is kind of like related to the chapter, if that makes sense. Sometimes it's like more obvious than others, but yeah. I found it really interesting. I really liked it. I mean, all these sticky notes are, all these sticky notes are quotes that I underlined because I liked. So clearly, I definitely enjoyed quite a bit of the book. But I think I gave it a 4 star. Yeah, 4 stars. It wasn't like my favorite ever, but I really liked it, and I definitely want to read more from this author. But yeah, I really recommend it. I don't know. I feel like I haven't really like described it well, but yeah, it's good. It's good. Then that I also got in July. Then in August, I think. Yeah, I think it was literally the 1st of August. I went to Indigo. Indigo, I think it's a Canadian only. Yeah, it's a Canadian bookstore chain. Book chain. Kind of like Waterstones, like, you know. Anyway, but yeah, I went to Indigo, which I don't go often because also books in Canada are so expensive. Like, and for what? Like, I don't understand why it's that expensive. But anyway, I bought 3 books when I was there. So, I got Tom Lake by Anne Patchett. And I have read one Anne Patchett book before. Yeah, The Dutch House. Dutch House. Which I think was published in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. And I loved it. It was so good. And yeah, like, she's clearly a very talented writer. So there's also another book of hers that's like a collection of essays that I really want to read. But this was one of my most anticipated books that were being released this year. And so when I saw it at the bookstore, I had to pick it up. I had to pick it up. Also, I don't know if this is just me, but sometimes when I see a cover online, I kind of imagine like how the book is gonna feel once I, like, not once I buy it, but like on paperback and stuff like that. And when I saw this cover, I thought it would be like a rough kind of papery texture. Instead, it's plastic. And it's not a big deal, but like, I was so shocked when I saw it. Like, I was so convinced based on the cover that it would be like that papery feel. Like, yeah, I hope you know what I'm talking about. So when I saw it was plastic, I was like, what? Like, why would they do that? I feel like when you look at like paintings like these, I don't know if you can tell, but it is a painting. I don't know, I feel like paper, like that paper feel is better. I don't know. Is that just me? I don't know. But anyway, I don't even remember what Tom Lake is about. So I'm just gonna read the synopsis. Okay, so it's a novel about family, love, and growing up. In the spring of 2020, Lara's 3 daughters return to the family's orchard in northern Michigan. While picking cherries, they beg their mother to tell them the story of Peter Duke, a famous actor with whom she shared both a stage and a romance years before at a theater company called Tom Lake. As Lara recalls the past, Laura, her daughters examine their own lives and their relationship with their mother, and are forced to reframe their understanding of the world they thought they knew. Tom Lake is a meditation on youthful love, married love, and the lives our parents led before they were our parents. Both hopeful and elegiac, I don't know how to say that, It explores what it means to be happy even when the world is falling apart. As in all her novels, Anne Patchett combines compelling narrative artistry with piercing insights into family dynamics. The result is a rich and luminous story told with profound intelligence and emotional acuity that demonstrates once again why she is one of the most acclaimed literary talents at work today. Oh, that was loud. But yeah, I love stories about families and like family dynamics. And again, something that it was the same in The Dutch House, by the way. That was also a story about a family, and you get a lot of like meditations in terms of like the different characters and like what they're thinking and stuff like that. And that's my favorite type of book. So. Also, it's got this beautiful touches. Deco touches is how they're called. Anyway, and this was 20% off. So, or actually, I think it was $20. Never mind. Which, yeah, Canadian dollars, this is usually $25.99. So, anyway, that's I was about to say that's the Dutch House. That's Tom Lake. And then on that same excursion to Indigo, I also got Big Swiss by Jen Piagin. And see, this is the kind of texture that I thought Tom Lake would be more like. It's got like a matte texture. This is actually quite relaxing. Okay, so Big Swiss, this is another one of my most anticipated books of this year. So, again, I'll just read the back. A brilliantly original novel about a sex therapist's transcriptionist and her wild affair with one of the patients. So the book follows Greta, who is a transcriptionist for a sex therapist. And basically the therapist wants to write a sort of like novel, I guess, about his therapies. But obviously everything is gonna be anonymous, you know. But she listens to the recordings and she transcribes them. But they all live in this like small town, and so apparently everyone like goes to this sex therapist for help, and so she basically knows everyone's business. And because it's a small town, she recognizes voices in the recordings. So like even though technically everything is anonymous, she knows who everyone is. And she basically becomes like obsessed with this woman that she calls Big Swiss because she's originally from Switzerland. And yeah, one day I think she runs into her like randomly, she recognizes her voice, and she basically starts like a friendship, and I think it turns into some sort of romance, maybe. But yeah, obviously like it's probably not gonna really go well since she knows all of Big Swiss's like not secrets, but like she knows about her sex life. Side note, I think Big Swiss is married, but yeah. I don't know, this sounds right up my alley. Just again, it's been described as one of those books with like no plot. It's more like, I don't know if you can say character study or just like, you know, it's just about Greta and like her going about her life, and she doesn't really have her shit together. So it's her just like trying to figure herself out, I guess. Because also when she meets Big Swiss, she lies about her identity. So obviously that, you know, creates a bit more complications, and obviously like she's not being honest with her, and yeah, so it's probably gonna be a bit of a mess. I'm excited to read it, although I've heard like a lot of negative reviews, but I don't know. I feel like this is one of those books that like the majority of people may not enjoy, but I think I will. Hopefully, you never know, but I hope so. And then lastly, that same day, I got Nevada by Imogen Binnie, and I'm actually currently reading it, which is why I have this bookmark. And this is such a cute bookmark. I want to show you. I got this when I was in Korea. So before going to Japan, I went to Korea in June. Yeah, I got this bookmark, and I also got one that's like similar to this one, but like slightly different, for my sister. But yeah, I am 92 pages in, and I've been annotating this book, so it's taking me a bit longer to read it. But this is about a trans woman who is kind of like, she's been struggling with herself for a long time, and she's been in this relationship with her girlfriend for 4 years, I think, and basically she just doesn't love her anymore. And oh my god, I'm sorry, I need to move my legs. She doesn't love her girlfriend anymore, and so she ends up breaking up with her. And then, this is not a spoiler, by the way. And then, I haven't gotten to this part yet, but she, in the book, is gonna steal her ex-girlfriend's car and basically just drive to Star City in Nevada. And along the way, I think she meets a man called James, and she thinks he might be trans as well. And apparently, like, a lot of shit is gonna go down from there. I don't know. Yeah, because like she meets him, and then it says here, what happens next is either Maria and James's salvation or their downfall. It just depends on who you ask. And this is apparently like a really like loved cult classic within the like transgender book community, I guess. But yeah, I've been wanting to read this for a while, and then I saw it at the bookstore and I was like, you know what, I might as well get it. So yeah, this is Nevada. Also, I love the cover. It's so pretty. I love the colors. Then I recently went to BMV Books, which again, I think this is a Canadian bookstore, and like book chain, I guess. And BMV is actually, it stands for Books Music, I think, or no, Books, Magazines, and Videos. So they sell books, magazines, and videos, and they are all like, they're not used per se, but like, for example, with the books, it's like if there's like something wrong with them, that they can't be sold in like a bookstore, the BMV Books will sell them for a cheaper price. So, for example, if there's like a marker sign on the pages, like that. And yeah, so when I was there last, I think I went like last week, I got 4 books. Actually, I will show you. I got 4 books. They're so cute. But yeah, the first one that I saw when I first entered the shop, there's like this big table with a lot of books. And the first one I saw in one of the piles was Charlotte Temple by Susanna Rawson. Yeah. So apparently this is like a classic, but I had never heard of it, so I don't know. Maybe I'm just stupid. I don't know. But this is actually about this young girl who becomes her teacher. I think her French teacher, or I don't know. Yeah, French teacher. And he seduces her, and I'm using quotation marks because she's like underage. So I don't want to say that it's a seduction because he's a pedophile, like realistically. But it's basically about her who like ends up running away from home and follows him to, I think, the US, and or maybe they're already in the US, but like she goes somewhere else. And oh yeah, no, never mind. I think she's technically in France, but she goes to New York with him, and she ends up getting pregnant by him. But once they reach New York, he's like basically gets bored of her and leaves her alone with the baby. Well, like she's still pregnant, I think, but it's basically about her becoming a mother when she's that young, and she's like completely alone in a new country. She doesn't know anybody, her parents are far away from her, and yeah, it's about her, a story of her resilience from what I remember about like reading the back. But yeah, it's super tiny, I don't know if you can tell, it's like really tiny. So hopefully I'll be able to read it soon. But yeah, it's 114 pages, so really short. I don't know, like it's not the kind of story that I usually go for, but at the same time, I'm just really curious to know how this was written, especially because again, it's a classic and it's about a young girl who, you know, has an affair with an older man out of wedlock. She gets pregnant, so like it's very taboo, very taboo. So I want to see how it was written, and like, you know, I'm guessing that it's meant to make you sympathize with the protagonist. So yeah, this is Charlotte Temple, and then I got Very Cold People. And this is by Sarah Mancuso. So I remember hearing about this book like a few years ago, I think, and it sounded interesting, but like it's one of those books that like it just never really like piqued my interest that much. But then I saw it in this bookstore, so I was like, you know, I might as well get it for like a cheaper price. Since again, like I did want to read it, I just didn't really know when I was going to. But yeah, again, this is one of those books that like no matter how many times I read the synopsis, I forget what it's about. Like, so I'll just read the synopsis for you. Fort Ruthie, the present town of Wastefield, Massachusetts, is all she has ever known. Once home to the country's oldest and most illustrious families, the Capotes, the Lowells, the first best people. By the tail of the 20th century, it is an unforgiving place awash with secrets. As Ruthie grows up, she slowly learns how the town's prim facade conceals a deeper, darker history, and how silence often masks a legacy of harm, from the violence that runs down the family line to the horrors endured by her high school friends, each suffering a fate worse than the last. For Ruthie, Wastefield is a place to be survived, and a girl like her would be lucky to get out alive. At once an ungilded portrait of girlhood at the crossroads of history and social class, as well as a vital confrontation with an all-American whiteness, Very Cold People is a haunted jewel of a novel from one of our most virtuosic literary writers and the winner of an American Academy of Arts and Letters Literature Award. So, honestly, I think what attracts me most about the book is the cover. Like, it's such a pretty cover, and it looks like a watercolor painting. So, I mean, it probably is. heard good things about this book, but yeah, I hope I'm gonna love it. I'm kind of scared that it's gonna be one of those books that's like average. I don't know. Like average in my opinion. Like obviously, clearly she's a very talented author. Okay. Then I got Lucy by Jamaica Kincaid, and I actually have already read Lucy before buying it. So I listened to the audiobook, or did I read the Kindle version? Wait, I feel like I remember getting it from the library, but anyway, what I do remember is that I read it before, and I loved it so much. It's like one of my new favorite books of all time. I read it, I think it was the beginning of this year, like in February maybe, and or maybe later, but anyway, I loved it so much that I was like, I absolutely need to get me a physical copy of it. And so I actually spent like, I think a few hours writing down the quotes, not writing down, underlining the quotes that I loved in the book and like, you know, annotating it. And I loved it so much because like, as I was underlining the quotes, obviously I kind of like remembered the book and just like how much I love the protagonist, Lucy. She's so funny. Like, I literally like laughed out loud reading this book. But she's funny in that kind of like sarcastic sort of way, and like she's got a bit of a dark humor because she's like brutally honest. I just love her. I loved her so much, and I really saw myself in her just in terms of like how she thinks, and like she's the kind of person who can really see what's going on in front of her in a very like what's the best word to describe it? Like she doesn't see things in black and white, you know what I mean? Like she doesn't think in a dichotomous way. She is very nuanced in her perception of the world. But yeah, but basically Lucy is a young girl. I think she's 18 or 19 during the story, and she moves from the West Indies to, okay, it doesn't say where in the US, but like in a city in the US, and she's an au pair, so she stays with this family for 1 year, working as an au pair, and it's basically about her and her interactions with especially the mother of the family, and then it's her and her best friend ish. But yeah, she meets this girl and they become like really good friends, and yeah, it's about this 1 year in her life, and we learn more about Lucy and about her relationship with the West Indies, like where she's from, with her mother, like especially her mother. Like she has a very strenuous relationship with her, and it's really just about her reflecting on life, and I loved it. So good. Like if you're gonna pick up any books out of this list of books, I would say pick this one up. It's so incredible, and like the way that Lucy thinks is just I don't know, she's got such a strong voice, like truly. And I wanted to find a quote to read for you, but I don't even know which one to pick. So for example, this is her just like thinking, oh wait, actually this is not her saying it, never mind. Wait, I'm gonna read something that she says. Okay, so for example, like these are the kind of like thoughts she has. The times that I loved Mariah, it was because she reminded me of my mother. The times that I did not love Mariah, it was because she reminded me of my mother. I don't know, I love that. I think that's so funny and like so accurate. Like, I don't know, it's like sometimes you love someone so much, but at the same time you end up disliking them because of how much you love them and how much, like, how well you know them, you know? So that was just funny. And let me see. That's a bit. Oh, there's this one quote I don't know if I can find it, but it's basically her observing Mariah's and her husband's relationship falling apart. And by the way, Mariah is like the mother, like where she's au pair. But, yeah. So their relationship is falling apart because he cheated on her with a friend of hers. And at one point, they basically talk it out, and she decides that he needs to leave. And Lucy, when she's observing all this, she's like, wow, I feel so bad for Mariah. She actually thinks it's basically along the lines of like, she really thinks that she's the one who's making the decision, when in reality he just manipulated her into it. And obviously, like, the way that Jamaica Kincaid writes it is a lot more it's just better. Not me not knowing how to speak, oh my god. But yeah, but it was just, it's such an obscure moment, and it's like, that doesn't make any sense. But like, it's an obscure why am I forgetting words? Am I okay? Oh, what's that word? Anyway, she notices things that, like, I feel like at her age not a lot of people would pick up on, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like, she's very astute for her age, and she's just very perceptive. Like, she sees things for what they are, she sees people for who they are. Yeah. Except, I will say, with her mother, I feel like, obviously because of the personal bias, she has a lot of resentment towards her mother, which is totally understandable. But I don't know, it's just so weird because, like, I feel like a few years ago I really saw myself in Lucy in terms of like having that resentment and like, you know, like, why do you treat me like this and stuff like that. And it's like, when you get older and you realize, you know, your parents are just trying their best, and parents are flawed humans, and they're also susceptible to societal expectations and, like, you know, societal standards and stuff like that. So yeah, anyway, I love Lucy. Highly, highly, highly recommended. And then lastly, I picked up 5 Tuesdays in Winter by Lily King, and she's the author of Writers and Lovers. Yeah, Writers and Lovers. It says it here. For a second, I couldn't remember if it was Lovers and Writers. But I loved Writers and Lovers. It's one of my favorite books as well. I read it either last year or 2 years ago, and I loved it. So I decided that when, I think this was published in 2022, and I remember, like, again, it was one of my anticipated books of that year, but I never ended up reading it, and I didn't pick it up. So when I saw it in the bookstore, I decided to get it. So yeah, and this is a collection of short stories, and I don't know what exactly they're about, to be honest, but okay, I'll just read the back. The masterful first short story collection by the best-selling author of Writers and Lovers and Euphoria, 5 Tuesdays in Winter is a romantic, hopeful, and unsparingly honest collection of 10 selected stories by one of our most accomplished chroniclers of the heart. Told in the intimate voices of its endearing characters, 5 Tuesdays in Winter intriguingly subverts expectations as it explores desire, loss, jolting violence, and the inexorable tug towards love at all costs. I really loved Riders and Lovers because of how tender it was, like the overall story at the ending. But in Riders and Lovers, the protagonist was kind of going through it because she was grieving her mother's passing, and she kind of felt like her life was falling apart. And then slowly throughout the book, we see her kind of like getting back on her feet. And as she's getting back on her feet, she's also like, well, I mean, I guess in the midst of her falling apart, she meets two men that she kind of develops a relationship with. But like one of them is a bit more not superficial, but I mean they end up dating like officially, but it's more like, I don't know, at least to me it felt like she was just kind of going with it, and she liked him, but like there wasn't like a strong connection as much as there was with this other man. But this other man that she had a connection with, he basically just like up and left, and he asked her to like wait for him, but she's like, I mean, we barely know each other, I don't know when you're gonna be back. So like she ends up developing a relationship with another man, and so like there's a lot of drama surrounding that. But really what it's about is about her and her dealing with grief, and her just, you know, going about her life trying to start a career as a, well, I think she wants to be a writer, but like she also just wants to get a job, like maybe teaching or something, and she's a waitress. And yeah, she just feels like nothing is going her way, basically. And so I just loved it so much. So I'm really excited to read these short stories. And then, okay, my phone is almost dying, so I have to like do this quickly. But I literally got this today. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? Yeah, I can count. I have 6 books that I got today in the mail, and these books are also from a similar bookstore as the one I just mentioned, BMB Books. But I got this from Book Outlet, which you may know of potentially. But basically, Book Outlet, it's kind of like BMB Books, where like they sell books that for whatever reason cannot be sold in like bookstores, because again they may have like marks on them, so they are sold for like a much cheaper price. So the first one I picked up was Mary Ventura and the Ninth Kingdom by Sylvia Plath. This is a novella, and it's super tiny. I actually read it like as soon as I got it in the mail. When I took it out, I just started reading it, and yeah, I finished it right away. It's 40 pages, and it's really well written. And this was actually a novella, that like a short story that she had written for a magazine to be published in, but it was rejected. And this was like her first ever short story that she wrote, I think, in 1952. And yeah, and basically they posthumously decided to publish it in its original form. But yeah, and I didn't really know what it was about, but I really like Sylvia Plath, so I was like, you know, I don't care, I'll read anything that she's written. But honestly, it was like a really eerie story about this young girl who goes on this train, and she doesn't really know where she's going. And when she's on the train, she befriends this old lady who is basically trying to guide her towards understanding that like she can make decisions for herself, if that makes sense. So it's funny because like I was reading a Goodreads review of this book, and one of the reviews, like, he said something like, this is like not so subtle allegory to suicide. And it's funny because I he said that, I was like, what? I mean, obviously, given Sylvia Plath's story, like her life story, it makes sense. Because she struggled with depression, like, throughout most of her life, I think. Or at least her adult life. But, personally, when I was reading it, I actually saw it as more of, like, a reminder that, like, we as people tend to kind of, like, go along with whatever society, like, expects from us. Or, like, we just kind of, like, I don't know, maybe have certain goals or certain dreams because we feel like that's what we're meant to do, but maybe not because we actually want to. And to me, when I was reading it, I was like, this is a good, like, allegory for that, for, like, you can take control of your own life. But upon reading that review and then rereading this, well, some passages of this, I realized, yeah, like, it does make sense if you look at it as, like, suicide. So, but I'll just read a quote that I underlined. You don't understand. It's not my fault I took this train. It was my parents. They wanted me to go. You let them buy the ticket for you, though. The woman persisted. You let them put you on the train, didn't you? You accepted and did not rebel. It's still not my fault, Mary exclaimed vehemently, but the woman's eyes were upon her, level after blue level of reproach, and Mary felt herself sinking, drowned in shame. And then, on the next page, but you didn't go back. You chose not to go back, and now there is nothing you can do about it. Mary sat suddenly upright, glaring through her tears. Oh, yes, there is, she said defiantly. There is still something I can do. I'm going to get off anyway, while there is still time. I am going to pull the emergency cord. The woman flushed Mary a sudden, radiant smile, and her eyes lit with admiration. Ah, she whispered. Good, you're a spunky one. You have hit upon it. That is the one trick left, the one assertion of the will remaining. I thought that, too, was frozen. There is a chance now. So yeah, obviously you can see the, like, allegory to, like, you're on this train and, like, it's heading towards death, and you feel like you can't stop it, but, like, you actually can. So it's like, you know, if you have, like, suicidal thoughts and stuff like that. But I still think it's also a good allegory for, like, taking charge of your own life. And it's funny because just last night I was thinking about that, of, like, how I need to take more charge of my own life, and to read this today, maybe that's why my head went in that direction. But yeah, I don't know, it really hit close for me. So yeah, I give it 4 stars. It's like, you can tell it was like, it's not her best work, but it's still like a really good short story, so I would recommend it. Although there was this part in the story where, like, they go to, like, the dining carriage, and they have a black waiter come to take their orders, and the fact that, like, she had to specify a black waiter comes to take her order, like, she mentions it twice in a very short amount of time. So I was just like, I get it, it was different times, but, like, why? Like, do you really have to mention that the waiter was black? Anyway, like, it was totally unnecessary, but I digress. Then we have, wait, I just want to check. Okay, never mind. Okay, then we have Intimacies by Katie Kitamura. Intimacies. So, again, I actually have already read this book. I read it again at the beginning of this year, and this was another one of my favorites. Gave it 5 stars. I loved it, and I think it's one of those books that, like, it's definitely one of my all-time favorite books, even though technically excuse me, even though it technically hasn't been that long. I just really loved it, and it's one of those books that I will randomly find myself thinking about. So I definitely wanted to get a physical copy, and again, since I could get, like, the copy for, like, a cheaper price, I ended up getting it from putting it away without even saying what it's about. Okay. An interpreter has come to The Hague to escape New York and work at the International Court. A woman of many languages and identities, she is looking for a place to finally go home. She is drawn into simmering personal dramas. Her lover, Adrian, is separated from his wife but still entangled in his marriage. Her friend Jana, I'm not sure, witnesses a seemingly random act of violence, a crime the interpreter becomes increasingly obsessed with as she befriends the victim's sister. And she's pulled into an explosive political controversy when she's asked to interpret for a former president accused of war crimes. A woman of quiet passion, she confronts power, love, and violence, both in her personal intimacies and in her work at the court. She is soon pushed to the precipice, where betrayal and heartbreak threaten to overwhelm her, forcing her to decide what she wants from life. Highly recommend, once again. Like, I would say Lucy and Intimacy is like my two favorites. And then I got, honestly, in this last little haul, I basically have everything. Like, I had this short novella, I had a novel, I have a collection of essays, and poetry. So Sad Today by Melissa Broder. These are personal essays, and I recently read Milk Fed by Melissa Broder and loved it so much. Again, another one of those books that, like, it's probably one of my all-time favorites. Like, I already know. But I've been wanting to read pretty much all of her books, so I really want to read The Pisces, especially. Like, I'm super looking forward to reading it. Also, this is completely random, but my zodiac sign is Pisces. So I feel like I have to love that book. But I saw that they had this available on Book Outlet, so I picked it up. And I heard good things about the essays, although I also heard they're not as good as her fiction work. But again, it's like, maybe I'll love it. So let me read the book for you. In this darkly funny and brutally honest collection of essays, Melissa Broder grapples with sex, death, love, low self-esteem, anxiety, depression, addiction, and the drama of waiting for the universe to text you back. She illuminates with insights as sharp as her humor, and in prose that is both aggressively colloquial and achingly poetic. Questions most of us are afraid to even acknowledge, let alone answer. Like, when did I even ask to be born? And why is there a committee in my head trying to kill me? From Botox to the abyss, Broder precariously balances her own hilarious obsessions with a strong dose of existential dread, diving deeper into the psyche that made her a phenomenon as a dangerously irreverent So Sad Today. At So Sad Today. I don't know if that's her like Instagram handle or like Twitter handle, maybe, because it's like at So Sad Today. Anyway, one thing to know about Melissa Broder is that her books, I don't think, would be wildly or like public. I don't think the majority of people would enjoy them, if that makes sense. Like, obviously she's a really good writer, and I loved Milk Fed, but she writes really, really weird books. Like, you should know that going into it. So I don't know if the essays are gonna be weird, maybe, potentially, but just know that her fiction works are very weird. But yeah, so I haven't read them, so I can't really say much about them, but I'm really excited. Okay, and then the last 3 books. So here I have 2 poetry books by Louise Gluck. And I heard great things about Louise Gluck, but I've never read anything by her. And so I wanted to pick like something up from her. And they had these 2 available. So The Wild Iris, I think is like one of her most well-known works, maybe. It seemed that way when I saw it, so that's why I picked it up. But yeah, I don't really know what to say about her because once again, I haven't read her poetry, but I feel like, side note, I love poetry, so I think I'm gonna love her specifically. And what's funny is that I guess it's a synchronicity, but like I can't remember which book I was reading, but like literally, like I was in the process, like I was thinking about buying some of her books, or like I was just looking into her works, and then I was reading a book and they mentioned Louise Clark, and I was like, you know, like maybe that's a sign. But yeah, so this one is called Winter Recipes from the Collective, and it's like, you know, poems. And okay, this is her 13th book of poems, and it's among her most haunting. Here, as in The Wild Iris, there is a chorus, but the speakers are entirely human, simultaneously spectral and ancient. Winter Recipes from the Collective is chamber music, an invitation into a privileged realm, small enough for the individual instrument to make itself heard. Dolente, its line sustained, carried, and then taken up by the next instrument, spirited, animoso, while at the same time being large enough to contain a whole lifetime, the inconceivable gifts and losses of old age, the little princesses rattling in the back of a car, an abandoned passport, the ingredients of an invigorating winter sandwich, a sister's death, the joyful presence of the sun, its brightness measured by the darkness it casts. Some of you will know what I mean, the poet says, by which she means some of you will follow me. Hers is a sustaining presence, the voice containing all our lifetimes, all the worlds, each more beautiful than the last. This magnificent book couldn't have been written by anyone else, nor could it have been written by the poet at any other time in her life. That sounds amazing. Yeah, again, it's super tiny. Both of them are like small, and then super small as well. So yeah, this is The Wild Iris, which I think was written like much earlier than this one. I don't know. But yeah, The Wild Iris and Winter Recipes from the Collective. And then lastly, I have a huge poetry book. Huge. And this is Poems by Elizabeth Bishop. Again, the same thing happened. I was reading a book, can't remember which one, and I love the book, by the way, and then they mentioned Elizabeth Bishop. So, and again, I had already been like looking into buying this book, so like, okay, clearly I need to, because, you know, she's talented. So yeah, I haven't read anything by either Louise Clark or Elizabeth Bishop, so I'm really excited about it. And once again, I do love poetry, so I think I'm really gonna like them. I mean, obviously I hope I will, but something tells me that I will. So yeah. But yeah, it doesn't really say what this is about, because I think this is just like a huge collection of her poems. I don't know if it's all of her works, but it's definitely a lot of poems. And I feel like it's just the kind of book that like I need to read slowly over time, as opposed to like all in one go. But yeah, I'm really excited to read it. Ooh. I think there's some like photos of like her writing it or something. I don't know. Anyway, that's it. That was the last book of my haul. So yeah, those are all the books I bought recently.